What is going on? Welcome to the Fitness Business Life podcast and into the elite FPA Belfast community. So we're streaming two ways here. Um, Thank you first and foremost to my guest for coming on today, Chris Spearman. Chris, how are you, buddy?
Dude, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Obviously, it's uncertain times, but we're here hopefully to be a beacon of light for a few people who, um, fingers crossed, can take something away from maybe some of the mistakes that we've made in the past, and maybe a few things that we can help people with, or areas to focus on at least at this difficult time.
For sure, mate. So I don't know when the listeners are actually consuming this content, but currently we are in the middle of the COVID-19 crisis. Well, you could kind of call it a crisis. It seems to be hitting the fitness industry pretty hard at the minute, and sort of the reason why obviously we're looking for Chris's expertise here is because a lot of people are moving towards the online space, which Chris has been pretty much dominating in for however many years, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. I've no doubt today he's going to give us a little bit of value and also a calming voice in times of uncertainty. So Chris, do you want to give us a wee bit of background about yourself, first of all, like how you sort of broke into the online space, first of all?
For sure. So I'm not going to bore people too much, but I'll give you the briefest synopsis that I can. So long story short, I moved over to the United Kingdom in 2013 to pursue a PhD. In midst of doing that, I kind of ended up finding myself in the gym, and I was like completely blown away by the gym that I was in over here. Long story short, booked a shoot, did a shoot, ended up a few months later on the cover of numerous magazines, which
Were,
was
were
an
you
dream.
were you the skinny guy going
Dude,
hench, or were you the
this
opposite dude?
I'm still the skinny guy, but
Oh, really?
well, yeah, I've always been, and I think in my head I'll always be. Any of you guys who are watching this video wise, this was my first magazine cover, and looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, I'm in okay shape, but it was more of and it's something that we'll get onto in a minute, is networking, being in the right place at the right time, taking the right opportunities and things. And long story short, I think about a year into fitness modeling, whatever that really means, I was asked by a randomer in the Shetland Islands if I would help him get over his breakup with his ex-wife, and
Holy
that's
shit.
when my journey as a coach started. And I suppose it went, and we can talk through maybe different mistakes I made, different uh, you know abilities to scale and tactics and stuff. But I suppose that was in the end of 2014, and since then I managed to, I suppose, scale and grow my business quite quickly to six figures, working literally one day a week. Um, and that was testament to my mentor at the time, who happened to be a client of mine. I wasn't growth minded enough at the time to invest. He was a client of mine who
You
happened
you were
to,
lucky to have that guy. You were lucky
dude,
to have that guy.
he wrote
Yeah.
he wrote an Amazon best-selling book called Scale: How to Grow Your Business by Working Less.
Oh, I've heard
And
this. I've
dude,
heard this. I've heard this.
he,
I've
his
heard
name's
this.
his name's Frank Bria, and he is an absolute legend. He
I'll look
owns
this guy
a
up.
6 to 7 figure high ticket coaching company right now, and yeah, he was a beacon of light for me at the time. And we became very close. I traveled with him as his coach, but was sponging off him all the time in terms of knowledge. And I utilized a lot of what I learned from my relationship with Frank to scale and grow my online business completely online, working one day a week to well over six figures. We can talk about the ins and outs of how I did that as we progress. But long story short, then meanwhile I was doing 14-hour days in the hospital 5 days a week. Had
Okay.
my Saturday was whatever, and then I was working Sunday in terms of the work, say, in my business, and
Okay.
obviously juggling social media the whole way up along. And it went from there to starting to help other people grow their business kind of loosely. I've then scaled that fitness business when I finished my PhD to the numbers aren't important, but let's multiple six figures. And I now have successfully over the last year spent a huge amount of time in our mastermind, which is called Fitness Coach Freedom, which helps other fitness entrepreneurs to scale and grow either from personal trainers to online, or people who are currently online, aspiring to be online, to scale and grow their business as well. So we currently have over 60 active clients within Fitness Coach Freedom who are all scaling and growing their business right now. And that's, so I've been kind of juggling there's a third business at the same time, but that's more of an agency. So we currently help within the agency, we help other fitness professionals to run ads, funnels, email marketing campaigns. So between three, I'm kept quite busy. The fitness business that I started initially is called, and at least the brand is the Cover Model Academy, and that's still doing well over $500,000 of sales every year. It's going well. For me, that's not a brag. That's a listen. I'm helping my crew grow a business, not from stuff that I did in the past, not from stuff that I've heard, but from what I'm actually doing with my own business right now. So I'm literally ear to the ground, giving honest feedback in terms of what's working with us, how it's successfully being grown and scaled and implementing. And essentially, when people come within the mastermind, they literally come inside my business and see, like, this is exactly full transparency. This is what I do. This is what works. This is what isn't. And that's been, I suppose, taking the majority of my time over the last year to help others scale and grow. And I think right now is a perfect opportunity for people to at least broaden their horizons in terms of, in some ways, being forced to transition online. But I think it's a good opportunity for a lot of people, dude. I really do.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm curious here, Chris. So some of the sort of, I would say, adversity you possibly came up with or came up against, just starting out, I suppose, going from, you probably had friends at school, you probably come up against some negativity when you started out in the cover model world, I assume.
Absolutely. I think,
Yeah.
to be honest, dude, I've always felt, in it, probably my blessing is that I never really felt that I fit in ever really. I mean, I'm from a very rural part of Ireland. I'm from West Cork, for some of you guys who know it. Very rural part of Ireland. The nearest neighbor to my house was over a kilometer away. People in West Cork don't get on the cover of magazines, and that comes with a lot of challenges. It's a challenge that I'm and would do a million times over. But yeah, it definitely comes with a sense of angst. And I'm not sure what it's like in Northern Ireland as such. I heard an amazing fable story that's there's a lot of truth to it, that there was two fishermen were pulling in a fishing net on a trawler, and one of the fisherman's sons is looking after a big box of crabs. So when the crabs come in, he'll throw the crabs in a separate box, and they'll pull the fish in. And the two guys are all hands on deck, pulling in the net. And the young kid goes, Daddy, one of the crabs is coming out of the bucket. And the two fishermen look at each other and then look at the kid and go, "Don't worry about it." He's like, No, he's climbing out. He's climbing out. And they go, "Don't worry about it." And he's like, completely puzzled, and they go, "Watch what happens next." And all the other crabs reach up and pull the other crab back down into the bucket. And that happens. If you watch that happens. And that was a very strong, poignant story that I was told in relation to especially rural parts of the world, where some people feel like, and dude, and this isn't I've just always felt like there was more out there for me. Now, truthfully, when I first started, I thought it was all me. I wanted to get on the cover of a magazine. I wanted to get a PhD. I wanted to do all of this bullshit, until I realized that actually serving people is far more valuable and actually far more rewarding. So that drive.
I always.
Yeah, dude.
Sorry,
Yeah, 100%.
I always say to our students, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
100%.
And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I could take away. Sorry, dude, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that it took me a while to realize that, but once I did, it kind of put everything into perspective. And I always felt like there was um, that I had a strong purpose, always, and I've just realized that that was to try and help and impact as many people as I could. So,
Yeah.
I love then helping now other fitness professionals to do the same, because I think.
And did that happen organically, Chris? Did people just start coming to you and saying, "Dude, how did you do this here?" Like how did that sort of transition come about from being, cover model, to coaching people to get in cover model shape, to eventually then coaching other trainers?
So when that guy messaged me and asked would I help him get over his ex-wife in that situation, that became a no-brainer. And then for me, I spent 10 years in university, and at the time I was doing a PhD, and I was like, oh wow, okay, this could be a way that I could like pay for my fees and my tuition. And then my goal was like,
Hmm.
imagine if I could finish my 10 years in university with zero student debt. Imagine what that would look like. Obviously, I
Hmm.
didn't think that was realistic. So that was kind of my driving force when I first started, to help as many people as I can get through my PhD. And then probably maybe a year or two in, a lot of my friends and people who are doing fitness modeling, or they were like, oh well, how have you managed to kind of grow your business as quick, and you're only spending a very short space of time. I always tell the story of a lot of personal trainers truthfully used to begrudge what I did. And I understand that very much so, because at the time I was working very little on my fitness business. I was working on my fitness business, but I was doing a
Hmm.
PhD. I was training twice a day. I was, doing shoots and stuff, and yet I had a very successful online business, and I was getting a lot of a lot of pull from personal trainers, maybe more so in my area or in the industry, that were like, who do you think you are? Like, you're not a personal trainer, and you think they could clearly see that there was success going on.
Yeah.
And what that
Yeah.
forced me to do, there was one personal trainer in particular who made a shitty comment on one of my posts. And for the first time, I actually replied, and I said, dude, listen, I can only imagine you're frustrated. I can only imagine you feel like you're not making enough money. And the whole maybe year or two while I was getting this negative feedback off face-to-face client coaches, I've been thinking about, well, why don't they do this and why don't they do that? So I actually replied to him
Mm.
and I said, dude, listen, I'm sure you're frustrated, but why don't you try scaling your offer, adding more value, creating this sort of program where you see your clients once a week, and then you just add a huge amount of scalable value, like pre-recorded content, Zoom calls, that's scalable, and you can charge
Yeah.
far more. And why don't you learn to
Yeah.
sell it more efficiently, more effectively, and actually have a message and a story behind your brand? And he actually replied and was like, uh, fair play. Like,
Wow.
he was very, yeah.
Wow. Here.
And dude, he got back to me about 2 months later and said, dude, I'm absolutely killing it. And that to me was the first moment where I was like, well, maybe I should, go around and tell people that, they can do these things. And that was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And since then I've helped quite a lot of my friends who are pretty big in the industry now, maybe privately. And it's been over the last kind of year or two that I've really kind of been public with helping people. And the truth is, the reason is because people just kept asking me, dude. There was a massive need there, and I felt that the more I invested in my growth was a very good opportunity to tell people what I was learning as well.
Dude, that is unreal. And I actually just want to highlight, I suppose, a nugget from what you just brought up there, was that you actually just gave some value in the face of adversity. So
100%. I think.
so someone was coming to you with this shit, and you said to him, "Dude,
Yeah.
listen, and like I know you're probably frustrated, but here's what you need to do."
Mhm.
I think that's a massive lesson for anyone listening, especially right now at this time. Sorry, go ahead, man.
I was going to say, we've all been through, highs, and, I've had some massive lows also. And if I've learned anything in lows, like maybe, the situation that we're in now, as crazy as it sounds, is soak it all up, like take up all that hurt, all that pain, all that anger, all that anguish, and utilize it. for good. So,
Yeah.
you know, anytime I used to get a hateful comment, or anytime I used to literally just go, soak it up, soak it up, soak it up. I'd message my mom and say, listen, I love you. I can't wait to come home. I'd message my friends and go, listen, I appreciate you so much. I think we spend so much time online, and in this day and age, looking for acceptance from people who haven't given it to us yet, and they won't,
Yeah.
rather than thanking
Yeah.
the people who have always supported us. So in scenarios like this, it's a time where, you know, like-minded people come together, where, like you said, in the face of adversity, add more value, not less. And I think
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
we were all functioning at 80%, and this comes along, and we drop down to 70, that's not an
Yeah.
excuse to try and get back to 80. That's an excuse to try and get to 85, knowing that then,
Yeah.
you know, when you know, we're back to normal, you're going to be 90+% more productive.
Good.
um so I think there's a lot
Good,
of
man.
lessons to be learned from that.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And I suppose the other thing as well, this really gets to me, you know, keyboard warriors as well. I'm forever telling our guys, like, just do not get involved. Hurt people hurt people. So as you know, the guy that had was giving you the sort of jip online or whatever, obviously he was hurting in some way or shape or form. But even him actually, you know, reaching out and he's kind of what he's kind of doing is telling himself, I don't like success, because in a way, you know, you were a really successful trainer at that time. You weren't working major hours and you were achieving a lot of things. But
Hmm.
when you sort of have that negativity around that, what you're actually telling your subconscious is that I don't like success. If
Yeah,
this dude didn't like you for whatever reason for being successful, well then guess what you're going to get yourself.
yeah.
Like it's not you're going to put up roadblocks in order to get you to where you want to be. So just reach out to people like yourself and just say, dude, listen, what do you know, and can you help me with it?
100%. I think, you know, and of course, I'm not saying it's different for women, but for men at least, I feel like we're massively egocentric. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's just nature, right? I think in the fitness industry, even more so. So our biggest like crutch is our ego, and it's
Yeah.
probably the biggest obstacle between you and success is your own ego. And I think the sooner us as men, and I'm not saying women aren't the same, but I think, you know, men can be in a negative way for sure, far more
Yeah.
are too proud to ask for help. That is the
Yep.
biggest mistake that people will make, like without a shadow
Mm-hmm.
of a doubt. So if I
Yeah.
could offer any advice to anyone, male and female, is to realize that, listen, you don't know everything. And the best way to overcome that is to invest, to learn, to grow, to read books, and to become a student again. You know, I think that's you know, it's a
Just
massive
be
learning curve.
curious. Just be curious. Yeah, just be curious all the
100%.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Chris, I suppose, you know, right now there is going to be an explosion of people moving into the online space due to the coronavirus. Like, I suppose we've got no other choice if we want to continue to serve people. You've been doing this for a long time. What are some of the pitfalls that people need to be wary of? Like, if you were to start all over again, what would you have done differently?
Um, so truthfully, as difficult as it may sound, is to figure out who you're trying to serve, because there's value, of course, when we start off to say, listen, I want to help everyone, and you know, I'm willing to help everyone. I'm willing to accept money, and I understand that, and you won't say no to people if you feel like you can help them. But what I've managed to do, probably over the last few years, that I wish I'd done sooner, was identify an area or a section of the population that I could really serve. Because the thing is this,
Mm-hmm.
dude, if there are people, let's just say there's, you know, Jack and James, two personal trainers, online coaches, and you know, they have the same skill set, let's say hypothetically, and they offered, you know, their offer is the same, and let's just say they have the same hours in the day, the same marketing material. There's only going to be one decision. There'll be one main decision. Of course, likability comes into it, but we're saying that they're the same. There will only be one thing that segregates or differentiates Jack and James, and that's price. And price should never
Uh-huh.
be the reason that someone chooses you over somebody else. So I feel like what you really need to do is becoming an authority figure. And now I'm not saying that happens overnight, and of course,
Mhm.
my niche is getting people in cover model shape. Of course, that means, I probably needed to get in pretty good, nick myself. I probably would have needed to have done a few other things, but have a podcast, write a book. All of these things will increase your celebrity status, or your, let's say your position in the industry. So that's
Yeah.
something you should be doing always. But I think to figure out who you serve is such a valuable thing. For example, we've got and there are caveats, of course, but we've got a perfect example is we had Joshua, who's an awesome client that we had within the mastermind. He was in the West End himself, and he was a personal trainer and had been a personal trainer. I was helping a few people online, and he then transitioned to going, listen, I help people in the West End, actors, aspiring actors, to get in amazing shape for their roles in movies, in plays, in shows. He was the perfect person to speak to those people. And people will say, oh, but I don't really, is there enough of those people? As
Mm.
silly as it sounds, well, firstly, I'll say this, and there is nobody listening to this who couldn't create an offer that is worthy, or you could express the value of, say, £200 per month. Now, for some of
Yeah.
you, you'll be like, whoa, what, really? Expressing the value and actually giving the value, and marketing and selling have to play a role. But with that price point, all you need is 44 people to earn a six-figure salary at any one
Mm.
time. If you have 44 clients, which is what I did when I scaled my business initially, I sold my program for £99 a month, and I was able to scale it up, and I over 40. I'd 50 at one point in time, and I was adding a huge amount of value, and I was expressing the value, and people found, the contact was more than enough. I've done so much, I've added so much more now, but the point is, you only need 44 people in the world. You don't need 100,000 followers. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need 1,000. You don't even need 100 followers. If you have 44
Yeah.
people that value your service for 197 pounds a month, you'll make six figures. Now, most people don't
Yeah.
even want to make six figures. They're happy making half that. So in the grand scheme of things, I think if you can find a demographic of people that you can speak to, because to me there's three aspects of, when we say within Fitness Coach Freedom that we help fitness professionals scale and grow. There are three main pillars that we focus on. So we focus on creating an impact. um, for us, that's first and foremost, helping fitness professionals to create an impact, then giving them freedom to do so, and then obviously getting wealth off the back of that. So those three
Mhm.
pillars are based on creating content that speaks to or has an impact in your area or your field.
Yep.
Then we help you create a scalable offer so that it's not massively draining with your time. We can show you how to add a huge amount of value without feeling like you're completely draining yourself with the clients that you have, and that you can charge
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And then the third point is that we help you to market and sell efficiently and effectively, and express the value. Now, doing those three things means that anyone out there, once you find your niche, and you can create a scalable product and a scalable offer, and obviously you can sell it and express the value of that program, then it's a lot easier to go through a process of charging maybe £50 a month. We've got some clients charging well over £500 a month for an online coaching program to their clients. Now, for some people, they'll
Nice.
say, whoa, that's extortionate. It's not about the money. It's about
Yeah.
giving that person enough value that warrants them paying £500. And the,
Yeah.
the truth is, I could get my mum to coach someone for £1,000 a month, because some people only need the accountability, and their goals are worth £1,000 a month. So
Yeah.
to me, the money or the price is not about the money that you get in your hands. It's about the value that you can offer the world, an exchange of
Yeah.
service. It's one thing for me to say this. people are probably listening to this who don't know me going, oh yeah, it's easy for you to say, like, I don't have a TV in my house. I don't have a car. I don't like, I don't, the clothes that I wear, I've probably just been given or gifted or Primark. Like, yes, I do travel because that's something that I love doing, to be able to network with clients and coaches all over the world. But in terms of like monetary value or financial gain, to me, it's more about adding value to the marketplace. So what
Yeah.
I would have done sooner is started adding more value rather than DM me for my program, DM me for my program, or hit me up for a program or, a diet plan or whatever. I think if you add enough value, people will come to you.
Yeah, I just picked up on something there that you were saying, Chris, and people do kind of they kind of have this self limiting belief is are there enough people out there in that demographic? And what I would always say to people is, listen, don't just think about the demographic, but think about the psychographic as well. So, what type
100%.
of psychology, like not just the, okay, you want to build your customer avatar, but what is going on within their psyche that you can help them with as well. And I think that kind of allows people then to expand their thinking around who it actually is that they want to help.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. The thing is this: if someone comes to me, Cover Model Academy client comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to lose weight. I want to get abs and whatever it may be," and I go, "You don't." And they go, "What? No, 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 no. I've never had abs. I want to have abs, and I want to get on the I want to look like that guy on the cover." And I'm like, "You don't." And they're like completely just dumbfounded. And I'm like, "What you want is all of the things that are going to come from you having abs: confidence."
The job to be done.
Exactly.
What is the job to be done?
Confidence, a better sexual relationship with your partner, feeling more attractive, feeling like you're in control of your life, being more productive at work, being more focused, being more motivated, being a better father to your children, all of those things. Now, if someone turned around to me and said, "What, really? You've got people who pay over £1,000 a month for online coaching and they just get a training program, a nutrition program?" I'm like, no. What they get is they get a relationship back with their kids. They get a better sexual relationship with their partner. They're more productive in work, which actually makes them more than £1,000 a month. They've finally got purpose. They're investing in themselves for the first time, and they feel
Yeah.
a confidence that they've never felt before. Now, that's worth a lot more than just a diet plan and a nutrition program. So
Looking
that's
good as a byproduct of that. Looking good as a byproduct of
exactly.
all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when we say within our 3 pillars to, sell a high ticket program, it's not about getting money off them. It's about expressing a better value, or expressing to people all of the things that are going to come from them, committing to your program. Because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's just maybe the way we're built, we feel like selling is a bad thing. And when I think of selling, I don't think of selling. I think of, I have a solution to somebody's problem, and respectfully, and I say it to people respectfully, like, I don't need the money. I've got more than enough money that will do me probably forever. But I know that me pushing someone on the phone to commit will change their life. So what I would say
Yeah.
to you guys, and what, tell me I'm wrong, but the one thing I notice about personal trainers more than anything when they come to us is that they feel like awkward selling, or they don't want to feel like they're like a greasy salesman. Or what I say to them is, hey, listen, you have a gift, you have a skill set that can impact human lives, and you're telling me that you are not willing to push someone a little bit because you're going to feel uncomfortable, or you don't want to come across a certain way, when the reality is you have the key to the rest of their lives and you're not using it. That's a
Yeah. You got the key to their
disservice.
pain.
That's a
Yeah.
disservice. So what that says to me is a few things. It says, either one, they don't know the real pain points of their potential clients or their leads. They're not 100% confident in the deliverables and how they give or um, deliver their program. And potentially they don't have a huge kind of self worth value in everything that they're doing. And that's maybe some of the 3 main things that we would help people with is, really figuring out their avatar and what their avatar really wants, not what they say they want, what they really want. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously expressing the value, and then, giving, maybe more deliverables than they would already. One of the things that
Yeah.
the expression that I would use is, I use the ASDA scenario, and I say, listen, if I went into ASDA and I tipped a woman on the back and I said, hey, listen, what are your fitness goals this year? And she says, oh, I want to lose a dress size. And I say, cool, I'll do that, but that'll be £3,000. She would look at me. She'd probably slap me. Now, if I turned around to someone and I tipped her on the same moment on the shoulder and I said, hey, listen, what are your goals for this year? What have you got coming up? And she said, well, I'm getting married in 6 months and whatever. And I said, cool. Well, listen, your wedding dress is probably between 5 and 7 or 8 grand. Your wedding is probably going to cost 40 grand. How about I get you in the best shape of your life so that you look the best and feel the best you've ever felt in 6 months' time, but it will cost you £2,400. Now, when you frame it that way to the exact same woman, that's a very different offer. That's a very
Yeah.
different pain point. And I think that's a really important thing. So some of the main things that I would say to your listeners is figure out a demographic that you feel you can serve, really understand their actual pain points, the things that literally stop them from going to
Keep
sleep
them
at
up
night.
at night.
Dude,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's exactly it. That's exactly
Keep
it.
them up at night.
And
What keeps them awake at night?
try and figure out how you can add enough value or offer enough value that you can help them with those problems. And in terms of the deliverables online, that for us is the easiest thing. We've been doing this for a long time. Helping people get the deliverables together is one of the easiest things that we do for a lot of personal trainers who transition online. But accountability, as you know, and
Yeah.
as we've got coaches ourselves, accountability is massive for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Just making people do the work. Chris, so I would say a lot of people kind of have this sort of perception that online training is much easier. And I dare say, the guy who was giving you a bit of stick on Instagram or whatever, maybe had that same perception. What are some of the surprises that people can expect to come up against when it comes to delivering online?
If
Me personally, I actually think it's more work. I think there's probably
there's
more
no
work
doubt,
involved.
so
Yeah, yeah.
if someone's listening to this and they want to go online because they think it'll be easier, go down to the job center and do something else, because it
Yeah.
won't be. Like, if this is your reason for getting into online coaching, you're in the wrong place. Because I love this phrase, but when you can work from anywhere, you work from everywhere. And
Love
like,
that, man. Love
there
that.
isn't a 15-minute period in my life that I don't do something work related, because I love what I do. And the thing is, if you I think for him, for example, he could have, and no doubt he did, turn around back then and say, oh, it's easy and it's this and it's that. And you know
Hmm.
yes, someone could look at my life from the outside and say, oh, he's got it easy, he's doing this, he's doing that. I haven't slept more than 4 hours in probably the last 9 months, and that's legit. Like, my friends are worried, like my family's worried, my girlfriend's worried, but I just love what I
Yeah,
do.
dude, you text, like, I think you're the only person that gets up earlier than me. You text me at like 3:20 the other day, and my wake up time is like 4:26. I was
So
like, this dude is up earlier than
do
me.
you want to know the truth? I hadn't gone to bed yet.
Oh,
So
dude, what?
I hadn't gone to bed yet, and I woke up maybe 2 hours later. And as I was saying this morning, dude, like, I love what I do. And what I would say to people is, like, if you're thinking you want to get into the online space because it's easier, you'll get found out. Because, like in anything, if you want to be the best footballer in the world, you have to outwork everyone else. If you want to be the best rugby player, you have to outwork everyone else. If you want to be the best, in stocks and shares, you need to outwork everyone else. Yes, there will be differences and discrepancies in maybe some scenarios, or um maybe being around the right people and investing. That's all important. But the truth
Yeah.
is, if you're, and I'll say it straight up, like, if you're thinking you're going to get into the online fitness space because it's easy, if it's easy for you, it's easy for everyone else who's going to be working harder than you. So what
Mm.
it can do is it can allow you to work from anywhere in the world. It can give you control of your time because you create your own schedule. you can run your business far more flexibly, and you can schedule things better. You
Mm,
can serve more people, you can impact more lives, and yes, of course, you can make more money because your time is therefore scaled uh, a lot more than it would be face to face. But the money aspect of things is that when we say the three pillars, our third pillar is wealth. And the third pillar in terms of wealth is actually internal wealth first and then monetary
mm,
wealth. So,
yeah.
yes, you can make far more money for sure, but there's so many other aspects that make it a very valuable thing. However, I would never really suggest someone to just work online. For example, I have a few clients that I still see face to face, and sometimes it's when I travel abroad, and I'll train with someone, or so I think there's a lot of value in still having some clients face to face. And one of the biggest surprises, actually, this is probably more in alignment with your question, one of the biggest surprises when people come to us and they want to transition online is I say to them, great, that's awesome, but let's have a look at your face to face right now. Let's get the low hanging
Mm,
fruit and structure a better, scalable in person offer. Add all of this value that's online to that
mm,
program. Make sure that you're working far less, making a lot more money with the time that you have and the low hanging fruit that's there. So that buys you more time to build a brand, build a message, build a social media platform, and do all of the things that we help our crew do. So the biggest kind of shock, and Dan, who was on the podcast with us the other day, would have said is, no, I've got this face to face thing down, bro. And I'm like,
mm,
you don't, because there's more efficient action to be taken here so that you can have more time online. um, Very often the majority of clients that we get would be um, overworked and underpaid personal trainers. And if you're doing a 50-60 hour week, it's not easy to build a business online. It's not easy to spend time online. The last thing you want to
mm,
do when you come home at night is to spend another hour messaging people in the DMs to try and offer them a program. So what we do
yeah.
is we try and help you get low hanging fruit, a better offer, a more scalable offer, add more value to your face-to-face offer, which we call our PT hybrid system, or our PT hybrid model, where we have a hybrid of both, and we put that together. Once we've done that, we can then spend time online. We use a
Yeah.
few other metrics or a few other methods. We've got $1,000 system, which is essentially how you can actually get $1,000 on a sale. And if anyone, for any of your listeners who want that, we actually have a free training that I created. Probably one of the reasons why I was up so early this morning is I
Hmm.
created a full 10 to 15 video series absolutely free because of everything that's going on right now. I can give you
Awesome.
the link for your crew as well, so that that's absolutely
Yeah,
free.
I'll,
So I can
I'll
ping that
share
out.
that in the group. And
If anyone's listening to this, it's www.fitnesscoachfreedom.net/free, and then the pound sign 10K. Um,
awesome.
so we will
Awesome, man.
send.
Thank you for that resource, dude.
I'll send you the link. Is the pound in that? Maybe it is. I'll send you the link. But
Yeah,
basically,
we'll stick it in the notes.
yeah, you guys can opt in, and it basically takes you through maybe between 5 to 10 hours of calls and videos and trainings that will help people kind of niche out their first few offers as well. But
Cool.
you know what, dude? Like we were saying before, I think it's definitely a time for people to be resourceful,
Mm,
rather than just kind of being standoff with their clients too.
yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Chris, I'm actually curious here. So, in terms of the actual numbers, but because obviously, knowing your numbers is going to be the most important thing as far as running a business is concerned, because then once you do that, you can operate with a certain or with a level of certainty, of course. I kind of think that people start making the jump into these things just because it's kind of forced upon them, but then they'll negate the work on that front. Like, is there some systems that you could say to people, listen, do this? Like, what are the practical elements of piecing that together? And what should people look out for on that front as well?
So I think for personal trainers, first and foremost, I think trying to firstly um, get a scalable, well, firstly, I can say this for everyone. You can always add more value and more deliverables to what you're offering currently. Like anyone
Hmm.
can. I can ever, like, there's no one out there who could say I can't add more value. Or what it will come down to eventually is that scalable? But first and foremost, I think you can always add more value.
Hmm.
So figure out ways or things that you can do. Because truthfully, dude, when I ask personal trainers, like, what do your clients get for that money? They say, well, they get an hour with me once a week, and then I give them nutritional guidance. I'm like,
Hmm.
that's nothing. Like, because nutritional guidance isn't anything. Like that, to me, that's
Yeah.
fluff. Like, what are you actually giving them? So what I would say is this. Okay, so they get a Facebook group, they get a WhatsApp community support group, they get a Zoom call once a week, they get X amount of ebooks, they get 15 pre-recorded videos. For example, if you were, a personal trainer in Belfast, you'll create, a video that once it's recorded, it's done for good. 5 minutes on
Mm.
sleep, 5 minutes on gut health. Then for someone like yourself or someone in your area, you would say, you do a 5 minute video on the 5 best places to get a low calorie lunch if you're a busy professional in Belfast city centre. Those are the things that you can create now that will go forever. And think of
Yeah.
how much, think if you presented that to someone. Imagine if there's a fitness professional, or there's an executive in Liverpool, because we had one of our clients, Nicola, do this. We said, hey, listen, record a 5 to 10 minute video on some of the best places in Liverpool city centre for your ideal clients to go for food that's low calorie. And imagine if
Wow.
you were a female executive and you just signed up to a PT in a local JD gym, and all of a sudden she goes, yeah, I've got a video on this, and this
Dude, that's cool.
built in. So there's so much more value you can offer. And the thing with a weekly Zoom call, for example, is this is something that no matter if there's 1, 5, 20, or 50 people, it's still only an hour of your time, but you can serve
Mm.
more people. And the reality is the group element makes it, because within our mastermind, we've got 50, 60 entrepreneurs who are supporting each other. They're great friends, and some of them are on the other side of the world, but they know they've got a really close relationship with everyone, just like your crew have, in what you do, is that community
Yeah.
element. So there's so many other value adds that you can offer your clients first and foremost. Once you do that, then you go into the scalable realm and how you do that down the line. So I think first and foremost is add more value, but that can be said for your
Okay.
leads as well. If you add more value to
Yeah.
the people who are watching your stuff, you're more likely to get people to sign up and opt in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I suppose another wee bit of value that I can give to the listener right now is, sometimes not all sales calls are going to finish with a close, and just a wee thing that I kind of do. I always do, like testimonials with my guys. Couple of weeks down the line, I'll just give more value. I'll just share a testimonial and say, hey, listen, based on our last conversation, I think
Mhm.
you'll find some value in this. Whether or not
Such a good
they
idea.
choose to get, yeah. And it's a simple YouTube clip, and I have like hundreds of them, hundreds of testimonials. And
Yeah.
I'll just share the testimonial and say, because we get people, I may be too old for a career in fitness. And I'm just like, here, listen, I interviewed a guy last week. He's 48. I think he'll get some value in this, and just leave it.
Dude, that's
And
that's I'm so glad you said that, because what I used to do, and I still do it, is even if someone says they're signing up, I will leave the call. Say
mm,
within Spearman Fitness or the Cover Model Academy, I will leave the call and I will send a picture of 3 or 5 of the transformations that resemble that client the closest,
mm,
and say, and just, there you go. So I think that's a massive tip, too. Yeah, that's something that people should definitely do, because even if they don't take action now, it's very possible that they will in the future. um and I think in terms of maybe clarity, the one thing I would say is, if you're a fitness professional and you're listening to this, the truth is this: your clients don't need you for the information that you give them. They can get all of
mm,
that online. It's
yeah.
2020. everything is on the internet. So what they actually come to you for is guidance, accountability, intimacy, a relationship, support. And that's exactly what we would offer a fitness professional. So when fitness professionals, even those who know all the tricks and the tips, just like us with our own mentors, we still need guidance. We still need clarity. We still need accountability. Business is no different. So I think there's a lot of value to be said, or a lot of value and a lot to be said for a decent relationship with a good support network and some good mentors in your life. You know, I've got multiple in different areas of my life for different things. I know you mentioned the other day about, you know, something that Bedros Keuilian put up online. Like I've met Bedros a few times, really nice guy. There's so many people out there that, you know, that I'll drop a message to. Craig Ballantyne's another good friend of mine that I'll reach out to for various bits and pieces. So,
Yeah.
you know, the best thing I think that your clients can do now, or, you know, fitness professionals, is just add a ton of value. And that's exactly what
Yeah.
we're doing, you know, within Fitness Coach Freedom right now, which, you know, I put together that training series. And so yeah, it is it's www.fitnesscoachfreedom.net/free 10K. So yeah,
Thank you.
anyone
Good.
listening to that is more than welcome to dive in. But it's a time that I think we all need to be a little bit giving, a little bit forgiving, and try and, you know, like I said to you, it's time to expand, not to contract. You know, I think it's this is a perfect opportunity for the growth minded people to stand out, because they will. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people will be in a difficult place, difficult scenario, and even more than ever, it's the people who are investing, networking, working hard that are going to succeed. um, Sometimes in life, be it
Absolutely, man.
in terms of biology, virology, economics, it's that sieve metric where it's going to pull the successful, determined, hardworking, growth-minded people through, and everyone else is going to be a little bit stuck. It just comes down to, you know, where people are putting their priorities, right?
So if there's someone on there asking for that address. I'll share.
Ah,
I'll share the link with them.
yeah.
Chris, one more thing before we go here. Well, two more things. One, if there was something that I should have asked you today, but I didn't ask you, what would it have been? And also, where can the listener find you at?
Okay, so where they can find me at first and foremost is, if they're listening to this as a podcast, then the Fitness Coach Freedom podcast is probably the best place to get some information around business. My
Awesome.
Shred with Science podcast is where I put a lot of my nutritional information from. And
Cool.
Instagram then is probably the best kind of platform. So either my personal one is at Spearman Chris, and then my business mentor page is at chrisspearman.mentor. So they would be the best places. But for those listening who want to scale and grow an online business, the Fitness Coach Freedom podcast, or the link that I'm just about to put in here and send to you after this, is probably a good place to start for a lot of free info. If there was a question that you didn't ask, um, is it easy? And it fucking isn't,
Mm,
dude. It's
yeah.
tough. It's tough. And there's been a lot of, like, even, you know, I can look at my bank account to know that I've more money than I could ever need, yet I'm still grinding, I'm still working, I'm still, because I love what I do. So if I was to say to people, like, you know, what is the one thing that you need? I suppose if you were to ask me a question, what is the one thing that is going to determine your success? In my opinion, in this, but in life, it's your why and your passion. And for
Mm,
me, I've become so clear on my why, so clear on my passion, that it's going to take probably more than anyone will ever be able to throw at me in this lifetime to stop me achieving the things that I want to achieve. And that's not come from being arrogant. It's come from being through a lot of shit and realizing that I want this enough. And I think if someone's listening to this and they're motivated enough and their why is super, super strong, Like, whatever it may be, everyone's got an individual why, and some people just haven't found it yet. But when you have a why that is so strong, that means you cannot fail. You will never fail. You literally won't, because your why is too strong. Your why won't let you. So probably the best place to start, as crazy as it sounds, I can give you all the tactics in the world. And I give a lot of people tactics on a daily basis. We've got a lot of people in the mastermind, and most of them are incredible. And there will always be a percentage of people out there in the world who, oh yeah, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes. But they won't. So, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. There's no judgment there. But the reality is that in this world, I firmly believe that anything is within our control. Citing maybe some very chronic illnesses that are out of our control, I think a huge amount of what we do on a daily basis is firmly within our grasp. And that's such an incredibly empowering position to be in. But some people are terrified of that. And I think the people who relish in the ability to dig deep are the people who are going to succeed. I think you can have a leg up, you can be in the right place at the right time, but sooner or later, the people who are working hard and are determined enough will rise to the top. So if the question was, what is the one thing that you really need to succeed? It's a burning passion and a really strong why.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on today, brother.
Dude, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's
No worries,
obviously the more value we can give, the better. And you go away and play that chess set. You're
gonna have to get.
I'll get back on mine. I've not played mine in a while, so I'll get back on mine and we'll have a decent game of chess. I've got an app online. We can do it virtually. It's sweet.
It's a nice ornament.
Dude, yeah, 100%. So if like I said, guys, if you're out there, just dig deep, be strong, and find your why. Again, if anyone wants any of your crew need any resources from me, you just drop me a message and I'll ping anything over, or any support that I can give, and hopefully we'll have you on our podcast again soon. And yeah, it's always good to network. Actually, that's one last thing that I will say. Myself and Michael have messaged backwards and forwards the last while, and it's taken something like this for us to connect properly. Get out there and network with people. I don't know how many of you know ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson, but he's just brought out an amazing book called Traffic Secrets. And one of the biggest things that he spoke about is his Dream 100, and networking with people who you would see as awesome people that you want to connect with. And dude, I'm so glad that we managed to connect.
I'm so glad you said that just before we go here, because at the start of the year, Craig, a mutual friend of ours, said exactly this to me. He said, dude, go and pick 10 people and go and connect with them this year. Guess who was number one on my list? Dude, it was you.
No way.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude,
legit.
that's awesome.
Okay, this guy's from Cork. I need to connect with him. Number one name on my list. So that's one down anyway.
Dude, that's absolutely awesome. But yeah, dude, just like I said, if anyone needs anything, drop me a message. I've put that link in there. I'm going to give it to you as well. It's fitnesscoachfreedom.net/free 10K.
Love it, Chris. Thank you, man.
Dude, pleasure. Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate the time. Bye.